What's up everybody, Maran here for another weekly updates. There's lots of news to go over here this week, lots of product timelines. We got lots of info here about what's coming down the road here from a lot of different companies. But first, we have some info on the next generation Lexus RC. So, Car and Driver recently had a chance to interview the president of Toyota's TRD division about their GT3 race car and their plans for it, which were previewed with the GT3 concept that they debuted back in January at the Tokyo Auto Salon. And so, in the interview, he says it's fairly safe to connect the dots and suggest that the GR GT3 concept could be a precursor to the next global GT3 car for Lexus. And he hinted that the required production car that you have to build in order to compete with the GT3 car, they said that production car would be much more dynamic, with them saying that our Lexus RCF is a dynamite sports car, but I'll be candid and say that it's not a GT3 car. The current gen that we're racing right now was an afterthought to make it a GT3 car. Toyota's approach, going forward here, they've already kind of said this also back at the Tokyo Auto Salon, that they're, trying to start with racing first and then adapt race cars for the road instead of trying to upgrade their road cars in order to be good race cars. So, this really goes back to how Akira Toyota is really intense with racing and, wants to make fantastic race cars, and that benefits, the production cars as well. That's so many great cars were born out of that same mentality of, hey, let's make a race car, and then, oh yeah, we have to sell a few of them. And so they, dumb it down a little bit for the road. But so I think this whole premise sounds fantastic. So we'll see, how the GT3 car does shape the RC, because it is still a Lexus, it is still a luxury car, so they can't have a full-blown, sports car with it. But we'll just see how much flexibility there is here with the design. But they added that before you put your first line on paper, you decide you're going to race that car, and that shapes the design parameters, the performance parameters of that production car. It's just showing that from the ground up, this thing's going to be very dynamic. So I don't think anyone's going to be able to complain about the next generation RC not being sporty enough. It sounds like it's going to be quite the performer when it does arrive. Speaking of when it arrives, though, it's going to be a while, it sounds like, because the plan was to get the prototype GT3 car on the track by the end of this year. And then as far as when the RC will be arriving, TRD's president said, hopefully in a couple of years. So, good things take time. Let them have their time to, develop the next RC. I'm just happy we're getting a new RC at all, honestly, because a lot of people just assumed it was going to go by the wayside. No one buys two doors anymore. And, it's just not a very popular thing. But I love the current generation RC. I've had a great time in even the RC350 a good while back, but also recently the RCFs have been fantastic. And so I'm very excited that there's a new version coming. So great to hear that. As far as another really gorgeous, awesome debut this week, Polestar has revealed the O2 Concept this week, which is the first convertible electric car since the Tesla Roadster and the Smart Fortwo. And so they didn't commit to building this yet, but their CEO did say it's the hero car for our brand, which sounds to me like a Halo model. Usually you don't have a hero car that's just a quick little concept that everyone forgets about in a year. And I thought I remember hearing that in the past there was recent comments about how they could potentially have this architecture underpin sportier stuff because it's all just going to kind of be on the same architecture, and so it's a little bit easier to do. We'll see about all that, but as far as this car, it uses the same new platform that is being used for the future Polestar models, so that should make that production easier. But in addition to that, there's a few cool features to this car that may or may not reach production even if the car does. So for one, it has a drone that deploys out of the rear deck that can follow the car at up to 56 miles per hour, which is my personal dream for a car to have this, and also every social media influencer or other car reviewer. It would just be very nice to have a drone that can keep up with you, take lots of pretty shots while you just drive along and not have to worry about it. So that's pretty sweet that it has that built in. Again, that's probably a little more far-fetched, but there is drones that can follow people, so that might actually be something that's possible. Also, you can even share and edit the resulting video from that drone on the car's touchscreen, which might not be every editor's dream to be editing on a huge touchscreen like that. But anyway, so a cool little touch there, very creative. One of the other big announcements, though, with this O2 concept is that they're announcing that they want to be truly carbon neutral by 2030, with Polestar's head of design saying that he's very passionate about this. This isn't just some BS to try and make them look greener. He's saying there's no buying offsets, and emissions calculations aren't just limited to the use phase of the car. So he's talking about from the very production of the car, the use of the car, and even disposing of the car at the end of its life, and all of that being totally neutral. Very impressive as a goal. You know, he says that the way they're going about this, there's a ton. I mean, you can go through, there's a whole laundry list of things with this concept as far as things they're probably going to apply to other Polestar models, at least to try and make them more eco-friendly. So it uses an aluminum space frame that's light and strong, but also easily recyclable just by melting it. The same goes for the interior materials, where they developed a new thermoplastic that Polestar created for this car. It's using recycled polyester, and they call this mono materials. And they say it can be used for anything from the seats to the interior panels, all the way down to even the adhesives. So you can actually use this stuff for adhesive. And so this makes it much easier to recycle at the end of the car's life, since there's no disassembly required for any of that stuff. So you can just chuck basically the whole interior into the same, recycling bin, essentially. I know it's more complicated than that, but it's very eco-friendly in that regard as well. So way less energy intensive to build, to get rid of, and of course to operate, being electric. So really great as far as all that stuff goes. They also are sourcing their batteries from eco-friendly places, sustainably, all that as well. So they're not overlooking the batteries either. And so very interesting to see that. And I mean, just, man, the designers that they have working at Polestar are top notch. I mean, that is gorgeous. It's just also a really cool idea for convertible. Not just that the roof comes off, but that it's this cool, like hardtop type of thing there that kind of slides back and disappears. It's just very sweet. And so anyway, just, yeah, fantastic concept. I really hope they build that, because also they kind of have the market to themselves, with a, one of the first electric convertibles here, unless Tesla finally decides to make the new Roadster someday. But otherwise, they have the market to themselves, and I think this thing would sell really well, especially if it looks like that. On the opposite end of the carbon spectrum, Road & Track discovered this week that Dodge has quit offering the manual transmission in the Challenger Hellcats, and that it actually hasn't even been available to order since November. And so they reached out to Dodge, and Dodge told Road & Track that it's only temporary, and that they have to wait for a revised calibration that's going to be coming to allow the manual Hellcat to return. So I guess there's some odd emissions related thing or something that's holding it up from actually being sold. I'm not sure what the deal is, and they didn't really get too much into detail, but they did say the manual will be returning, which is great that they're bringing it back, but we also know, like, this cannot last much longer. I mean, put aside the whole manual thing and that just being unpopular, and the fact that very few people even buy manual Challengers in general, but on top of that, we know that the Hellcats in general are also living on borrowed time here. And, the reports have gone back and forth, but it sounds like 2023 could be the last model year for the Hellcats. And so, if this comes back, by the middle of the 2022 model year, even if they, have it come back tomorrow, you're still only talking about another year and a half of production tops, and so, it's just, either way, if you want any kind of Hellcat, but especially a manual one, once those ordering options do open back up, definitely grab one before they're gone, because we do not have much longer for these things to be sticking around here. And so, anyway, but very interesting to hear that at least Dodge is going to put in the effort to do a new calibration to keep the manual around for another year or so here, because they really didn't have to. They could have easily just been like, yeah, last year's automatic only, and at least we'd have the Hellcat. We couldn't really complain too much, but they're keeping the manual around, and I really respect them for it. I also have to say the manual Hellcat was a lot of fun. I was able to try it out a few times actually when I went to Bondurant and went to their driving school. That's what I was autocrossing and tracking, was a manual Hellcat Challenger. It was so much fun and a really cool experience. But anyway, so I'm glad to see they're keeping it around a little while longer. But even though the Challenger isn't very eco-friendly, we do know that Stellantis is definitely focused on, making their whole range much more eco-friendly here very, very quickly. And actually this week, Stellantis, on a financial call, announced a bunch of plans and laid out a good bit of their roadmap here, and gave us some new teaser images and even a full-blown reveal here of a model we weren't expecting. So first off, Stellantis said they're aiming to get to net zero carbon emissions by 2038. So a little while longer there, but they're a lot bigger company than Polestar Polestar is. So, but still good that they're aiming for that. And this week they announced big plans that include 75 new electric vehicles that'll be launching between now and 2030. Which I didn't even know Stellantis had 75 models, honestly. So to have 75 new electric models is impressive. They're aiming to have 100% of their European vehicle sales be EVs by 2030, and half of all of their American sales be electric vehicles by 2030. So, still that means that they will have plenty of gas-powered stuff, for those people in 2030 that still want that. But out of those 75 models, at least 25 of them will be coming to the United States, they said, and they laid out the timeline here for several of them. So they even surprised all of us with the first reveal of one here. It's the Jeep. They didn't have a name for it yet, but there's this new Jeep coming in 2023 that looks production ready already, and they just showed 2 pictures of it. No gimmicks, no teasers, no camo, just here it is, and it looks like it's actually ready to roll down the line. We don't have any mechanical details for it yet either, though, so we'll have to wait for that and the name here. But, if it's coming early next year, I'm sure we'll get some more info on it here, at some point here in the next couple of months, I'm guessing. And I think it actually looks pretty good here for a little, Jeep electric thing. So on top of that, after that, they said that there's going to be an electric version of the Ram ProMaster commercial van, followed by the electric Ram 1500, which we got to see a little more of thanks to a new teaser image here. So now we get a look at the back end, and looks very promising. It's going to be coming in 2024. Also in 2024, we'll be seeing the arrival of 2 more Jeeps, one family-oriented one and one off-road-oriented one, which is likely the Wrangler. Especially since there is a Magneto concept, there's already an electric Wrangler running around with a manual transmission, no less, which is super cool. A real manual too, nothing digital. And so that's cool that they're going to be having those coming here. 2024 is also when the electric Dodge muscle e-muscle thing is coming, we heard about last year, and that will be going on sale in 2024. Dodge said they will be showing a prototype of that e-muscle thing this year. Not sure when. The Roadkill Nights kind of thing would probably make the most sense around August or something, but could be sooner, could be later, we'll see. So that's all interesting. Also, they reiterated that 2025 is when Chrysler's first EV will be arriving, which will most likely be a production version of the Airflow concept, which also did look pretty close to production. I'm not sure why that's taking an extra 3 years here to show up, considering it seems like it could be ready in a year. Beyond that, it gets a little more vague with their timeline, but they did say that previously that they're planning on having Chrysler be fully electric by 2028, so that means whatever van they're going to have by then will be electric, and whatever they end up deciding to do with the 300, and they might have a few new models as well, we'll see. And Alfa Romeo and Maserati will also be fully electric by 2030, and could even be sooner than that, because I know in Europe they're going to be fully electric even before that. But they also added, which is another little curveball, that they're working on hydrogen fuel cell vehicles for commercial and heavy-duty uses, and there could even be, by 2025, a hydrogen-powered Ram 2500 or 3500. I guess it makes sense for the very few people who live near a hydrogen station. But it, certainly would make sense, as far as, just for those commercial applications where you can have large tanks and, still have lots of range and have a quick, refill there with that. So very interesting to hear they're, working on all of that. Hyundai and Kia also laid out their electrification plans this week. And we've heard some of this before, but now, on this financial call, we were able to hear a little bit more concrete details here about what they're planning to do between now and 2030. So between now and 2030, they'll be introducing 6 new Genesis electric models, along with 11 new Hyundai EVs. Of those 11 Hyundais, they said 3 would be sedans, which I'm kind of amazed by, that they're going to have 3 different electric sedans. Not complaining, but with everyone else being obsessed with, making as million crossovers and as many possible utilitarian things as possible, doing 3 sedans is impressive. They're also going to have 6 SUVs, along with 1 commercial vehicle and 1 new type of model, supposedly. I don't know if that's going to be something sporty, like sports car-like, but if it's a new type, then I guess it's not a traditional sports car. Who knows what they're going to do with that. But anyway, interesting to hear that from them. So they laid out basically of those models, the next one to arrive will be the Ioniq 6. It will be arriving by the end of this year. And then there will be the debut of the Ioniq 7 in 2024, which is their big people mover. And then on the Kia side, they're going to be a little bit more aggressive with their rollout with a lot more models. They're planning 14 new EVs instead of just 11 at Hyundai. And out of those 14, they're also going to be arriving by 2027 instead of by 2030. So coming sooner and more of them at Kia. And also Kia said it's going to include 2 pickup trucks, surprisingly. Now they did say that one of those trucks is going to be a strategic model for emerging markets, meaning it'll probably be smaller than what Americans like, so we probably won't get that one. But then the other one should be a standard pickup truck. So Kia will have an electric pickup truck. I mean, it's really impressive how the whole Hyundai Motor Group is just really matching every competitor head to head. It's like everyone else does super impressive stuff. We'll do it better. And now, everyone's doing electric trucks. And Kia's, running right into the fray there, and they're going to have their own electric truck to, probably head off against the F-150 Lightning, Silverado EV, and all that kind of stuff. And, it'd be very impressive to see what they end up doing with that. So, man, they are very I'm impressed by their ambition to just basically, try and take over every possible market segment here. On top of that, they did say that, the EV6 is already out, but the next model that will be coming will be the EV9 SUV, which is going to be coming next year, which is also a huge opportunity because they're going to have one of the first 3-row electric, like from the ground up electric things outside of a Tesla Model X. And that'll be, huge for people that have, are large families and want something electric, but also want 3 rows of seats and don't want a Tesla Model X. This is going to be huge for them, I think. On the other end of the spectrum, they're also working on a new entry-level electric vehicle, they said, to offer something even more affordable than the EV6. That's also great. It's good that, like other car companies, they're recognizing the need for stuff, in the 30,000 or even under 30,000 possibly range. And so that's very good as well. So, yeah, very impressive to hear all that news from Hyundai and Kia. We also have some unofficial plans here about Volvo's future timeline here and what they're doing with their EVs and plug-in hybrids. The plug-in hybrids aren't done at Volvo yet. So this is thanks to Automotive News. They spoke to some dealers that recently attended a national dealer meeting. And in this meeting, apparently Volvo laid out, a bunch of their plans. And in Volvo's pursuit to be completely electric by 2030, they're planning 5 new electric vehicles by then, along with 2 plug-in hybrids here for the 2020s. So the first to arrive is going to be the flagship 3-row SUV that Volvo executives talked about recently, and I covered that in a past weekly update not too long ago. So that's coming first. Then that should be going on sale next year, according to dealers, supposedly. They said they're expecting to sell about 20,000 of them or so in the first year, next year. So that should be coming real soon here if it's going to actually be on sale, by next calendar year. And then in 2025, supposedly a new model will be coming that's in between the XC90 and the XC60 in size. And also Volvo's switching to real names for a lot of their new models. So they're going to be ditching the letters and numbers. So not sure what all these things will be called, but that's interesting. They're going to have a new kind of model position there. And then that'll be followed by an electric XC60, or whatever they end up calling the new XC60 replacement, as well as a new entry-level model beneath the XC40 as well. So also Volvo even coming down to a more affordable price point, which is great. And lastly, they will be doing a new electric sedan, which is great. So that's all, good to hear. For the plug-in hybrids, they say there'll be new generations of the S90 and the XC90. So also very good to hear all that. As far as the S60, I'm not sure if maybe that'll be going fully electric here, and that's the sedan that will be coming, or what they end up doing with that. But anyway, very interesting to hear all of that. But again, those are not official plans, but they sound very reasonable and predictable, as far as what Volvo would do. So cool to hear that. And Rimac even talked a little bit this week about the future plans for Bugatti. And, Rimac now owns a controlling stake in Bugatti as of last summer. And so Mate Rimac spoke with Automotive News Europe and revealed to them that the next Bugatti will not be an electric vehicle. So you can breathe a sigh of relief there. But he did say it will be heavily electrified, but will have a very attractive combustion engine. When people see the next generation Bugatti, I think they will be surprised that I was pushing for something like that, because people associate me with electric cars. But I've always been a performance guy and a car freak. Considering the brand and the customers and the technology available, I think we are developing the best possible solution for Bugatti, which is not an electric car today. It will be one day, but not today. So very exciting to hear that in some ways. We will miss the W16. I mean, it's possible they could just heavily hybridize the W16 and still have the crazy engine and then just have bonkers electric motors and have, I don't know, 3,000 horsepower or something in it. Who knows? But I think, the odds are it will probably downsize the engine. But we'll see. I mean, because Lamborghini fully plans to also have plug-in hybrids with their huge V12s. So that could be a viable thing going forward. You have enough range to get you through the cities and, be able to, appease all the laws and stuff, but then have that engine right there waiting whenever you want to go crazy. And so they could do that, but, we'll see. I think most outlets are fully expecting Bugatti to downsize. But, I mean, they're starting with 16 cylinders, so downsizing for Bugatti might not be as bad as it is for other companies. If they downsize to a V12, I don't think anyone's going to really cry too much. But we'll see. It might go down to a V8 or even something different. We'll see. Because even Koenigsegg, they're experimenting with what I think they were running a 3-cylinder engine in their new car, the Gamera, I think. So, anything's possible. We'll see what happens, but very interesting to hear that. As far as when this new model is going to come, it'll probably be a while. Rimac's focusing right now on, getting out the Navara, which they're just starting to finish up production on the first few customer cars for that. And, also Bugatti, supposedly their production is maxed out until 2025 with all the other variants of the, Chiron that are coming and stuff. So, it'll probably be a couple of years before we get any kind of news on a new Bugatti, at least officially. So anyway, very interesting to hear that. And another iconic name that might also be getting downsized is the Mercedes SL. So the new SL just debuted, with the awesome twin-turbo V8s. Very awesome, very exciting, But according to the website MB Passion, an SL43 will supposedly be arriving this month. And my own dealer source did confirm that an SL43 exists in the system as well. So an SL43 is a certainty. My source wasn't able to say whether it's going to be coming as soon as this website's claiming or any details about it, or even if it's going to be coming to the States for that matter. This could be a Europe only thing too. And they didn't provide any details as far as mechanical stuff goes, but this 43 motor is the same motor that we've been hearing is going to be showing up in other models. And it's going to be, the way of the future here for Mercedes. And we've heard about how the V8s are going to be going away and the C63 and stuff, and they're all going to go to heavily hybridized 4-cylinder turbos, kind of based on probably the CLA 45 motor, running 2-liter turbo 4s, and then have a bunch of electrification. So it's probably some combination of that you can expect here in this SL. Horsepower rumors have been all over the place. Some are going anywhere from 390 horsepower up to over 600 horsepower, depending on the amount of electrification they're doing with it. So, we'll see what ends up happening as far as that, especially as far as it relates to the SL. But either way, even if it's only 390 horsepower, it's not going to be a slow car still. So, I don't think there's any issues there. It's just the sound is going to be the thing that's missing for some people. But, it still sounds like they're planning to offer the V8 here, at least, for a good while longer. And so interesting to hear that. And if this website is correct, then, we should be seeing some kind of reveal of this, relatively soon here in the next couple of weeks. So we'll stay tuned for that. Lotus this week does have an official debut here this month. They again teased the Type 132 electric SUV that they're going to be debuting on March 29th. And in the teaser video, which I'll link above, we see some close-ups of the electric motors, the wheels, the steering wheel and dashboard, as well as the single strip of taillights there in the back, and very cool green LEDs in the front, which I really hope they keep on the actual production vehicle, because that'd be a cool differentiator, because I don't think there's anyone else who has green DRLs currently, so that would be very sweet. And it all looks really cool. I'm excited to see and hear all about the details here in a few weeks, so cool to see that. And the last news story this week is also about Lotus, actually, and it's one of those stories that just puts a smile on your face, and it's a really nice way to end the week. So, Lotus announced last week that the very last Elise built for a customer, Lotus is keeping the actual last Elise for themselves at the museum, but the last one to go to a customer is going to the girl that the car is named after, Elisa Artioli. So her grandfather was the Lotus chairman back in 1996 when the car debuted, and her name is what inspired them to call it the Elise. And so I can't think of a more perfect ending to the Elise production to have the car go to its namesake. And just a very heartwarming thing, and I hope that she enjoys many, many miles in the final Elise. That is just so cool. And it is also kind of bittersweet though, because it is the end of the Elise. It's not coming back. It's, you know, it's the end of an era as well. So it is bittersweet, but at least the last one is going to the person that definitely should have it. So very cool to see that. But anyway, that's it for all the news this week, guys. So let me know your thoughts on all this stuff in the comments below. Please continue to stay safe and healthy out there, especially to my viewers in Ukraine. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.